Thing you're going to do is collect all of your equipment. So you can see here I've got my various pieces of equipment for my expiratory filter and housing. I've got a double limb heated circuit here with an inspiratory filter and a humidifier pot. And first thing I'm going to do is put that all together, install it, and then do the check. So there's an assembled expiratory valve and filter for the Avea. It's going to slide right into this housing here. Push it all the way up. Slide your bar over to lock it in place. You can note there's an arrow for exhalation, so it's showing the gas is going back through that way. This is my arrow showing the gas is coming from the ventilator. So let's put an inspiratory filter on that side. Connect our inspiratory side to our humidifier. Our other side of the humidifier is going to go to the heated wire. And that leaves our white expiratory tubing to connect into our expiratory valve. I come around to the back of the Avea, and we're going to turn it on. There's a little window covering it here, so just slip that up, turn that on, and it should start its checks. So you'll notice some audible and visual alarms. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to go into New Patient, Patient Accept. You're going to pick the size of patient you're going to set up. For our purposes today we'll set up an adult, size accept. And what I want to do is an EST. So it's telling me to block, remove the patient and block the circuit Y. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to use my hand here, so if you're in the clinic you can use the blue cap or a sterile or a clean glove. This takes roughly 90 seconds. You're going to see it's going to go through a leak test, a circuit compliance test, and an oxygen sensor calibration. I'm going to stop the video at this point and re-pick up when our test is passed. Okay, so you can see that our leak test has passed, our circuit compliance test has passed, but we've got an O2 sensor calibration failure. The reason we have that is you guys have probably seen in our lab we just wire it off to a 50 psi air source. Make sure in the clinical obviously that's hooked up to 50 psi DISSO2. Okay, so for our purposes we're going to go ahead and continue here. So a couple other things on the Avea. We want to set up our patient. So we're going to pick a patient weight, and we can dial in our patient weight to our ideal body weight or predicted body weight. We can input what size of ET tube we have. So let's say it's an 8. And what length it is. So if you, let's say you cut your tube to decrease a little bit of the dead space. Let's say we cut it at 26. Then your machine can get a little bit more intimate with your ventilation strategy. So we'll go ahead and say set up accept. And if you want to select your modes, you can touch in the top left here. You've got the choice of volume AC, pressure AC, volume SIMV, pressure SIMV, PRVC AC, PRVC SIMV, APRV biphasic, CPAP pressure support. And to choose those, let's say we're going to choose a pressure AC, I would choose that. And you can see down at the bottom all the parameters actually come up. So I can go ahead and set my parameters. Let's say I wanted to set a respiratory rate of 15. I would touch 15. It's going to highlight blue. Turn my rotary wheel until I actually get the desired setting I want. And then touch it again to confirm it. It's very important. So remember, touch, turn, touch on the Avea. Okay. Make sure you go through and set all of your parameters to what you want, and going into your alarms to set your alarms to what you're wanting your alarm scenarios to be. Once you're happy with all of that, you can go ahead and hit mode accept, and you'll start ventilating. So this is what the Avea graphics package looks like when you're in ventilating. On the side there's a hard key here. If you hit screens, a little tab will come up, and you can actually choose to manipulate this as you will. So if you go into monitors, you can see all the parameters there, but again you lose the scalars on this instance. So if you go back into screens, let's say you wanted just to go to main, but you wanted to change one of your red parameters. So let's say I didn't really need to look at my plateau pressure. You can touch that simply by just pressing on it and picking whatever you want. So let's say I want my IE ratio, and then reselecting, and you have your IE ratio now displayed for you. Other nice features about this, if you go back into screens, you can see things as your loops. So I like loops. You get a lot of information from them. I encourage you guys to start looking at these things. This is how you would get into it on the Avea. Other things that are really neat about this ventilator, it's got some advanced settings. So some of these modes or parameters, sorry, down at the bottom you'll see this yellow triangle. Anywhere you see that yellow triangle, you can touch it, hit advanced settings, and there will be things in the back that you can actually set. So you can set a flow cycle instead of time cycle. If I set my inspiratory pressure, I can look at volume limiting those breaths. Or I could even go in and set a pressure trigger. Okay. On the side here you have suction and increase O2 or manual breath. So if you hit suction, you'll see that the increase O2 lights up and the alarm silence lights up, giving you 2 minutes of silence and 100% oxygen while you do your suction. This is the Avea. It's a great little ventilator. I hope you guys get your hands on it and keep practicing with this in lab.